And good evening and welcome to episode number 17 of the Roar Rundown Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Gay, joined by my co-hosts, Weston Bailey and Zach Cloud. Well, first of all, if any of you have been trying to tune in, or at least trying to keep up with when we try to do a weekly show, a weekly podcast, and last week's didn't get uploaded until Friday, and it's because technology happens, and so we've had a lot of technical issues uploading, downloading, exporting all these episodes. But episode 16 is out, and I would definitely tune into that one because we get a preview from Weston about baseball, and we'll have a review of baseball with Weston today. But also I had a chance to catch up with Emory Knox after his historic 39-point performance against Henderson State. So definitely tune into that one. Episode 15, however, no longer exists. So episode 15 is going to be one of the lost episodes of the Roar Rundown Sports Podcast. But anyway, I just figured we were having trouble as it was, with last episode. Kind of had to make a sacrifice there. Mm-hmm. But anyway, so hopefully technology will work just fine. Fingers crossed. I can't really cross my fingers very well, but fingers crossed it will. So anyway, another note before we head into the grind, but Dennis Nutt's brother, Dennis Nutt is the Ouachita men's basketball coach. His brother, Dickie Nutt, is an assistant basketball coach with the University of Missouri. He just announced that he was diagnosed with cancer. So, just as far as I know, he said he was not going to be on the floor coaching anymore. He was going to be scouting before games and whatnot. So definitely taking a bit more of a reserved role in that coaching staff, and don't know anything else other than that. But just keep the Nutt family in your thoughts, and hopefully that Dickie can have a speedy recovery. So, but anyway, so. Speaking of, not speaking of basketball. Let's talk about some baseball. So Ouachita baseball, and we're not 1-0, we're not 2-0, but we are 3-0 this season to start. And of course, Weston Bailey, one of our very own members of Ouachita baseball. So you guys got the win in the season opener, and oh my gosh, that was a game. Because versus Northeastern State on Thursday, 9-7, Ouachita scored 3 runs in the 9th after Northeastern State had scored 5 runs in the 7th. Just describe to me the late game heroics from your teammates.
It was something awesome to watch, especially in a season opener. You don't ever quite get an environment like that. Obviously our number one was on the mound, their number one was on the mound. Both just throwing haymakers, like you said there. We gave up 5 in the 7th inning, which wasn't like we were throwing the ball around or anything. You see right here, we had 0 errors throughout the game. I just got to give credit where credit's due. They hit the ball well in the 7th and gave themselves the lead. And Cole Bedwell in the 9th inning, 2 runners on, hit a go-ahead 3-run home run, which was, just something else. And then Tag Peko, another sophomore, came in and got his first career win, shut it down in the 9th inning. Just sophomore class showing out this game, and it was really cool. For a season opener to be that exciting and that close, and we knew this was going to be a close game. Northeastern's a great team, has a lot of talent, and it was just really cool to come out on top and win the first nail biter of the season.
Yeah, well, and you guys would play them again, so I'll go ahead and skip ahead to Friday. You guys were able to play this was at Majestic Park in Hot Springs at the Dugan Collegiate Baseball Invitational, and you guys played Northeastern State again in another nail-biter, 7-6. Describe to us that game.
Well, it's hard coming off a game like the 9-7 win and having to follow it up with another one. Coach Howard preaches this all the time, and it's the good teams find a way to win the close games. And sometimes you're not going to come out on top. That's just baseball. But a good team finds the way to win majority of the close games. And we had to do that in back-to-back days. I mean, this one was no different than game one. Haymaker after haymaker, lead us, lead them. I mean, but kind of hit a stalemate in the middle innings, about the seventh. And, just Coach Howard turned to the dugout and said, they got to get us out 9 more times. Good luck. I like our odds. And but we pulled it through, and man, we were riding high after those 2 wins. But we don't like to be front runners. We don't want to be all the way up here when things are going well, and if we're on a 2-game losing streak, we don't want to be all the way down here. We could have easily lost these 2 games just as easily as we won them, and so we try to stay level-headed. And unfortunately, I'm sure you're about to get to it, but we were supposed to play another one on Saturday, and it got canceled because of Arkadelphia's spring weather. The rain is something else, but yeah, it was really cool to get these 2 wins in such close games and start the season 2-0.
Yeah, that was the Colorado School of Mines game, and that was going to be the longest distance between any of your opponents in this early season tournament. But we'll get to the rest of the activities on Saturday. Let's go back in time here. Let's go back to Thursday. Women and men's basketball, they went to Bethany, Oklahoma, and it was a rough weekend, or a rough Thursday. The women lost 56-41, and they only the first quarter started out fine for Ouachita. They led, wasn't particularly high scoring. I think maybe 19 points. It doesn't matter what they did in the first quarter, because what they did in the second quarter, frankly, was just okay. It was not good. I'm just trying to be as classy as I can, but it was horrendous. Let's just say that. 3 points in the second quarter. Now, of course, Southern Nazarene, best team in the conference, one of the best teams in the country. They are still undefeated last time I checked, and they certainly were after Ouachita, and they showed why. Zach, just looking at the numbers, neither team shot well, but it still looked like it was the Crimson Storm's game.
Yeah, we couldn't get anything going for most, like you said, the majority of the game. And against teams like Southern Nazarene, the top dogs, you got to bring your A game, and we weren't on top of our game whenever we played them on Thursday. We only shot 25% from the field and 26% from 3, and then even in free throws, the easy buckets, we only cashed in about 69% of those, which is usually not going to be well enough to win you a basketball game. When we also had 16 turnovers, which isn't something you'd like to see. We forced 15 turnovers, though, which kind of helped cancel it out. But, Southern Nazarene's shooting splits, they were just a little bit higher than ours. And we didn't really have a breakout or like a top game out of any of our girls, really. Like Lainey Mears, she did her thing. She had 12 points, 5 rebounds, and 2 steals. And she shot well from the three-pointer. But other than that, we had Madeline Tipton, 8 points with 7 rebounds. Micah Russell also had 8 points. She tacked on 3 rebounds with that, and Grayson Fairless had 6 points, 4 rebounds, and a steal. But yeah, it's just we got out rebounded 44-35 as well. And so usually when you don't shoot well, you don't rebound well, you don't take care of the ball, it's not going to be very pretty, and that's why we only ended up with 41 points.
Yep, 13 offensive rebounds for the Crimson Storm. And now I will say, it's not a breakout game for Lainey Mears, but she's had a rough stretch of games. Yeah. And I don't know if she had hit a 3 in her last 2 or 3 games, but she had 4 and only missed 2. So maybe we'll finally get to see her get back going. Still no Heidi Robinson, the team's second leading scorer, so they're still missing her. But that second quarter, I think that just kind of destroyed the game for Ouachita, especially since Ouachita's defense was still pretty good. I mean, they only gave up 56 points and forced 15 turnovers.
That's exactly what I was going to say. It seemed like it was obviously the splits aren't well, but this seemed like a game that we could have won, especially against the top dog in the conference and, like you said, one of the top teams in the nation. I mean, if you go back to the Battle of the Ravine a few weeks ago, we gave up almost 100 points to Henderson State, and we're holding the top team in the conference to under 60. I mean, that second quarter is brutal for us, and it's disappointing to see because obviously, this is a game that without that quarter could have been a lot closer. But it is what it is, and you got to move on.
Yeah, and it's a talented group, so you hate to see that, but yeah, like you said, you're holding them under 60 at home too. So, and I've never been to Bethany, Oklahoma, to their arena, but I imagine with a team that's as successful as they are, it's probably a difficult atmosphere to play in. But now, men's basketball also didn't have a great Thursday. They lost 64-81. And they only scored 26 points in the first half. They played significantly better in the second half, outscoring Southern Nazarene, but it was too little too late. But again, and Weston, I'll let you cover these, but SNU just couldn't miss inside, and they couldn't miss just all around.
You said it well. The thing that sticks out to me is that our boys only shot 28.6% from three, and compared to SNU's almost 38% from three. It just seemed like they were hitting the dagger after dagger. And really, when you're racking up threes like that, it's really hard to gain momentum back. And like you said, we actually scored more points in the second half than they did, but too little, too late. Our guys did their thing. Taryn Williams, 19 points, 7 rebounds, a block, shot 8 of 14 from the field. Tyler Haynes had 12, 4, and shot 50% from the field. Kobe Dunlap with 10 points, shot 50% from three, which was a bright spot from our three-point game. And Reggie Martin had 9 points, 3 rebounds, and a steal. I just think, that they caught fire. SNU caught fire early, and it was really hard to keep up with that momentum. Especially when you're hitting so many threes early in the game. Maybe we were forcing shots that we shouldn't have been, which were not helping our shots fall. But just like the girls, man, our basketball team is talented, and I think we've all seen it. It just needs to start clicking a little bit better and a little bit quicker and earlier in games. But I have no doubt that they'll figure it out.
Yeah, and still missing performances from Emery Knox and MJ Leslie. That was kind of big in this one. They just didn't have particularly the best games. And another thing that I noticed was the rebound disparity was very close between the two teams, but the Crimson Storm took advantage of when they got the second chance because they had 16 points off a second chance. Ouachita had 5, so just not particularly the best performance on the boards, and I think that definitely contributed to their win. Now, Ouachita men swim and dive, they had a tournament at Delta State there in Cleveland, Mississippi, and it was an interesting one where it's a meet, but it takes place over 2 days. But Ouachita was able to pick up the wins against Delta State in both Friday and Saturday. So on Friday, the Tiger Sharks had a couple winners, one in the 200 individual medley. Tyler Andrews, he won the 200 butterfly, and they took down the Statesmen 482 to 433. That is a lot of points. I don't really know how you score that. That's still a lot of points. Now, the second day, they were still pretty good in that meet. Again, multiple performers taking first in the 400 individual medley. And actually, I keep saying multiple. It is a kind of a new member of Ouachita Swim and Dive. It is Zambor Budoso. I'm so sorry if I mispronounced that. I tried my best. But he was new as of this semester, and he's from Hungary, and he has really made a staple. He won the 200 individual medley on Friday, and then he won the 400 individual medley and the 200 breaststroke on Saturday. And Tyler Andrews also won on Saturday. He had a 500 freestyle win. Sam Ragsdale won the 100 freestyle, and then Carson Powers earned an NCAA qualifying score in the 3-meter diving with 460 points. I don't know, again, how you score that, but the fact that he qualifies for the NCAAs, that's still pretty good. So now, if Powers, this is what was written online, if Powers can reach the 6-dive qualifying score at the NSISC Conference Championships, he will earn a trip to the Nationals in Ohio. Definitely hoping for that. We would love to see a diver participating in that big event. And the Saturday score was actually unofficial, but the unofficial score was Ouachita winning 407 to 374. All right, so Ouachita women's swim and dive, they were also performing against Delta State, and in women's swim and dive, Delta State is number 12 in the conference, and it was the Statesman Shootout, which basically they're competing against two other teams, and Ouachita came in second. So on Friday, Kelly Holcomb, she won the 200 freestyle, which meets the NCAA B standards for the 200 freestyle, which means that Holcomb will be considered for an invitational to the national championship. So congratulations there. But Delta State did take the win overall on Friday. Well, again on Saturday, Kelly Holcomb continued her success. She won the 400 individual medley. And again, Ouachita still had a pretty good weekend. Wasn't the best, but Delta State, number 12 in the country, it was going to be tough. So, but still, all around a pretty solid weekend for Ouachita swim and dive. And then softball also got their season started. They got it started on Friday against Northwestern Missouri State. Now, we have a lot of high expectations for Ouachita softball because they're bringing in a new coach. And I don't want to say he's resetting the culture, but he's at least maybe raising standards and changing up how things are going to be done. And first day wasn't how you want to start, but still, possibly some good progress that's going to be made under Coach Jackson's group. But their season opener was against Missouri State. I cannot get my names right, and they lost 6-15. And then they played 2.5 hours later against Missouri S&T, and that one was a lot closer. It was a 5-7 loss. Now, Weston, I know you guys still spend a lot of time hanging around the softball team. Have you had a chance to hang around them after their losses? Or
I haven't had a chance to talk to any of them actually after this past weekend. We were obviously both incredibly busy. But I'm not worried at all. I think, the odds were not in their favor, especially early after coming off a season like last year with, all the controversy around that. And coming into a new year with new coach, new freshmen, a pretty new team, honestly. There was lots of returners, but a lot of girls transferred out, and there's a lot of just new pieces to fit into the puzzle. And I don't think anybody that's human could expect you to get it right away. I have no doubt that this season is going to be a complete 180 from what they had last year. And if you don't figure it out right away, so be it. But I am really excited to catch some home games and just excited for them to start turning this thing around because I actually agree with what you were going to say at first. This is a new culture, and it's really, I think, going to shape the way of this program, and I'm excited to see where it goes.
Yeah, I think we all are, and we'll see, but it's going to be exciting because that's a very talented group that Coach Jackson's got, and he's got a lot of victories under his belt, not at the collegiate level, so it's still kind of interesting, the move, but he's apparently been a name. When I had a chance to catch up with him at the East Central basketball game, he said that he had interviewed after, and his name keeps skipping my mind, but after the previous not the last coach, but the coach before him had passed away, and Jackson had interviewed and just said the time wasn't right, and obviously the time was right now because he's now the new softball coach. So, but still high expectations there. Now, high expectations for Ouachita's men's tennis. Now, they started off the season ranked number 25 in the country, number 1 in the conference, and they started off pretty good. They played at home on Friday against Delta State, and they had a 7-0 victory. And we have so many tennis players that are just so good. So we had 3 groups that won in doubles. Doctors and Strassman had a 6-1 victory. So did Phil Exner and Alex Blanchard. They had a 6-1 victory, and so did Aaron Osman and Elias Lager. And then in singles, we had 6 winners. Phil Exner had a nice victory. So did Alex Blanchard, Fernando Doctors, Ramon Strassman, Aaron Osman, and Elias Lager. So definitely something that we're very high on the the men's tennis team. Goodness, I need to slow down, I think. But yes, we're very high on them because they're starting off the season ranked, and they also got a victory the next day. And actually, right now, men's tennis and baseball the only teams in Ouachita sports that are undefeated. Which there's a handful still performing, but so we'll take a look at basketball again. They played Saturday at Shawnee, Oklahoma. It was at Oklahoma Baptist, and just looking, the women played a lot better in this game. Ouachita outscored Oklahoma Baptist in the first quarter, and then slowly but surely the Bison were kind of chipping away. But just looking at our numbers, Ouachita shot extremely well from the three-point line, the best we've seen in a while, considering how many shots they took. They shot 23 threes and made 43.5% of them, or 43.5% of them. They shot well from the field, but they did not shoot well from the free throw line. And I think, when it's a 2-point game, a 2-point loss, you can sometimes contribute that to missed free throws. But they were great at capitalizing off of the Bison's turnovers. They had 19 points off of turnovers, 28 points in the paint. Looking at their individual numbers, Madeline Tipton, she had 19 points and 7 rebounds, hit 5 3-pointers, and so did Lainey Mears. So I think I was right when I said that maybe Lainey Mears is getting it back going. She was 5 of 9 from three-point land, also had 5 rebounds and 5 assists for 17 points. Then Grayson Fairless had 14 points, 6 rebounds, and a couple of steals, and shot a little bit above 50% from the field. And then Joey Babel, she had such an odd game. I don't want to say this is like, I don't even know. This is almost like scaled down Wilt Chamberlain numbers, and I'll explain this because she had 7 points, 6 rebounds, 7 assists, and 5 steals, and and
all over the place,
literally. And she's the shortest player on this team. She still had 2 offensive rebounds, and it's definitely disappointing that they weren't able to get the win. But this is one of the better performances they've had so far this season. So, because their defense was not too bad, they only allowed Oklahoma Baptist to shoot 16% from 3, but they did give up, again, like what Ouachita was able to do with Oklahoma Baptist, capitalize on turnovers. The Bison did the same thing to Ouachita. They had 23 points off of turnovers. So also, in between the men and women's basketball games, there was softball, and it was against Northeastern State, and it was another home game. And this was definitely a high-scoring game, 13-16, but Ouachita did, was on the losing end of that one, 13 points. So, I say it was a home game. I see it says Arkadelphia. I usually think, oh, is that OBU? No, it's actually at Henderson's campus. So, a part of the McGee-Hawkins Invitational. So, that always throws me off. Now, men's basketball, like I said, also played on Saturday. They lost 64-71 against Oklahoma Baptist. And we had 4 players in double digits, which is always nice to see, especially when we shot 40% from 3. Now, we only shot 66% from the free throw line. Definitely not great to see, and we had 20 turnovers. So I think we can almost contribute this loss to the turnover battle, considering that they had 23 points off of turnovers. Ouachita only had 7. So, but looking at the individual performers, Taryn Williams, Mr. Consistent, he had 15 points, 5 rebounds, a couple of threes. Emery Knox, back into the starting lineup, he had 12 points, 4 rebounds, a couple of steals. Marvin Williams-Dunn, I think this might be the first time this season he's been in double-digit points. I don't think he was even in double digits last year, but he had 10 points on and hit 2 of his threes. And then Reggie Martin had 10 points off the bench. I think it's interesting that he's coming off the bench, but, he still seems to be pretty effective. But we're still having problems rebounding as well. I say we had problems rebounding, but we had trouble keeping them off the offensive glass. So I don't know. Maybe we'll see a turnaround. They have really struggled on the road. So maybe all it takes is they will be playing back-to-back home games this week. So maybe they'll get 2 more wins. We'll see. We can only hope at this point. But again, such a talented squad. And then men's tennis. They, like I said, they had a 6-1 victory versus Southwest Baptist at home. And like I said, they're undefeated, just like baseball. So, but take a look. We had 2 groups that won in doubles. Exner and Blanchard won 6-3, and then Elias Lager and Aaron Osman also won 6-3. And then we had 5 individual performers winning in singles: Exner, Blanchard, Dr. Strassman, and Lager. So continuing to have a lot of success with our tennis squad. So on Sunday, baseball played again, and you guys had an extra day of rest after your Saturday game was canceled. But you guys were able to play against Missouri Southern, and so did Ouachita softball. Just briefly, Ouachita softball did not have as much success as you guys did against Missouri Southern, losing 0-13. But you guys won 8-1. Tell us about that game.
Man, there's so many positives to take away from this game. Going into this game, we knew that Missouri Southern was nationally ranked number 23, a very respected program. I think they've hosted their own regional the last year or two, and just a fundamentally sound program. We knew this was going to be no pushover, and we were kind of talking about it like we're going to war, and we knew it would be like that. Because before I get into this game, we're actually going up there this weekend to play 3 more on the road at their place. So in our minds, we were getting ready for a 4-game set. But Chase Oberly, who's a transfer from Howard Junior College, made his first start for Ouachita for us, and he went 6 1/3 and gave up 1 run. And it was a solo home run in the 7th inning, right before he got pulled. He was getting up there in pitch count, or he would have been in probably the rest of the game. Just a heck of a debut and a heck of a game from Chase. And I think a lot of people are excited to see how his season goes. When I look at this, both teams had 10 hits, but we won 8-1. And I think a lot of the credit to that is, our pitchers, only actually 1 guy came in after Chase, and it was Cameron Marchant, who is a 6-year senior lefty, one of our only 2 lefties on the staff, and he came in and shut the door in 2 2/3. But I mean, the offense just let it rain in this game. We scored 1 in the first, 1 in the third, 1 in the fourth, 1 in the sixth, and then 4 in the 8th to kind of hit the nail on the head and kind of put them away. And it was a really fun game to be a part of. Reese McWilliams, who actually started his collegiate career at Arkansas, is a transfer in from a junior college, and he had his first collegiate home run, batting in the 9-hole in the 8th inning. A leadoff first pitch home run in the 8th inning, which started that 4-run inning. And that was, man, I've never seen the dugout that loud, and it was just a really cool experience. And yeah, I mean, with that win, like you said, we started off, the first weekend 3-0, which is, something that we knew we were capable of. But it's, it's really glad. I'm really glad to see that we, were able to actually execute. And now we got to go up and play 3 games at a really good team's ballpark. And I think this weekend's going to be a big test for us.
We'll definitely look forward to it. Now, going back to softball, Missouri Southern State was 5-0 entering the weekend versus Ouachita. And Zach, what can you tell me about that? It was definitely a disappointing loss, but were there any positives? Or, I mean, shut out 13-0. So
yeah. I mean, I think the big difference in the game was the second and third inning combined. Missouri Southern State, they scored 6 runs in the second inning, 5 runs in the third. And so, I mean, and they scored 1 run in the first inning. So, I mean, you find yourself bottom of the third looking at a 12-0 deficit. So that's going to put you in a hole, not very good looking up from there. But, we had 3 hits, though. Erin Williams had one of the hits for the Tigers. She had a walk. And then Remington Adams was also able to get a hit. But, it was a slow start. And now after this loss, this puts us at 0-4. But it's still really early in the season, and we've still, like you said, we've got our new coach in. You know, we're looking at a completely different team, really, as compared to last year. So we're still trying to get clicking on all cylinders, but we've got plenty of time to turn things around.
Well, looking at basketball ahead, so Ouachita men and women will be playing Southwestern Oklahoma State this Thursday. Now, briefly looking at the GAC standings for both women and men, Ouachita is still in the playoff picture, which is crazy considering they're on, I think, a 3 or 4 game losing streak. But they will be playing against Southwestern Oklahoma State, like I said, and Southwestern sitting number 5 in the conference overall. So that'll definitely be a test for Ouachita, especially since the Bulldogs are pretty good on the road, 4-3. Now for the men, Ouachita, it's hard to believe that they are last place in the conference and just a few wins, and they're right there in the playoffs. It's just, this conference is just incredible. I mean, you have Arkansas Tech and Southeastern Oklahoma State that are right there at the top of the standings, and then we have a 4-10 GAC record, and then 2 other teams have just 5 wins in the conference, and then 3 teams have just 6 wins in the conference. So if we were just able to maybe get 2 wins, maybe 3 left in the conference schedule, and hope that some of those teams were to get 1 or 2 losses, we're there in the playoffs, which blows my mind. But we snuck in last year, and we got an opening round win against a number 1 seed, so maybe history repeats itself. But anyway, but playing Southwestern Oklahoma State, for men, they're also pretty talented. They're number 6 overall in the conference, but they struggle on the road like we do. But they just have 1 win on the road, so maybe they will make it 9 losses on the road. And again, that's on Thursday. Also on Thursday is I would say it's the season opening for women's tennis, but they had a fall season. They just split it up for the semester. So their spring opener is this Thursday at 2 p.m. And then Friday, wrestling hits the road to Springfield, Missouri. They will be wrestling against Drury, Newman, and William Jewell all on Friday. Women's indoor track and field will be back at Pittsburgh State. They must really love going to the Gorilla Classic tournament, but we'll see if they can continue to have some success there. Women's tennis will be playing against Christian Brothers at 2 p.m. And then baseball, you guys will be hitting the road to Joplin, Missouri to play Missouri Southern, and that will be at 3 p.m. Softball will be hosting a doubleheader versus Delta State at 4 p.m. and 6 p.m. at home. And then track and field continues to bleed over into Saturday, so does baseball. And then women's basketball and men's basketball will be playing the Rangers of Northwestern Oklahoma State on Saturday at home. Women's tennis will be hosting Arkansas Fort Smith, and then you guys will play again on Sunday versus Missouri Southern. And I know you guys are definitely looking forward to your first road trip true road trip. We're not going to call the Hot Springs. That's a neutral site.
No, a neutral site.
That's a neutral. But for the first official road game of the season, I know you guys are really excited about that. But all right, we're gonna be cutting this off in just a few minutes. But just wanted to ask, I had a question that popped up. What is the best thing you have seen, whether it's been on campus, doesn't have to be sports, but the best thing you've seen on this campus or just in general within the last week? No preparation there. I understand, but
I'm trying to think of things I've done in the past week. I know on when was it? I think it was Saturday night. I went to Miss OBU. We just had our Miss OBU pageant. So we had 4 contestants, or I guess girls that go to school here that I guess competed or went for it. And so I mean, I guess that was cool to watch. I'm a junior, so this is my 3rd year being here, but it was my first year going. I hadn't ever been to it my freshman or sophomore year, but it was cool to see how they were doing it. They had what was it called? They're not hosts, but they had people singing and stuff in between the different what would you call it? In between the different events that the
kind of like what they
contestants
had
would
at
do.
Tiger Tunes.
Yeah, and they had people singing the hosts do at Tiger Tunes, and most of the people singing were former hosts from Tiger Tunes, so it was cool to watch them, and they sounded great. And then they had Miss OBU from last year and Miss OBU from former years came out and they talked and stuff. So yeah, there was a decent amount of people there, so I guess that was fun to watch.
My answer's boring, but I'm just gonna go with the Tigers starting out 3-0.
Yeah,
that was
also big time.
Can't really beat that, and hopefully that's my same answer next weekend or next week.
Well, that is a pretty good answer, but mine is not something related to Ouachita, and I know you guys have probably seen it too. Mark Andrews, tight end for the Ravens, he did his part in saving a woman's life on a plane. So Mark Andrews, I don't know if he has type 1 or type 2 diabetes, but he has diabetes, and he has to, every time he's on the sideline in games, he has to check his blood sugar. And but he was on a plane flying somewhere, and a woman was having a medical emergency, and the doctors on the plane couldn't figure out what exactly was going on. They were trying their best, and then Mark Andrews kind of jumped up and said, could it be her blood sugar? And they gave it a try, and sure enough it was. And I don't know if it was too high, too low, I don't know. But regardless, he did his part to see that she was okay, because I think he even rode in the ambulance, or at least went to the hospital or something.
I don't remember what it was. And I'm not a medical professional at all, but whatever he uses on his own for his diabetes, he offered up for her, and they actually used his whatever it was on her. And I think what actually made it more impressive is I could be completely wrong. I think he did all this before doctors arrived. I don't think there was a doctor on the plane. I think this was obviously happening with the plane, and people were trying to help, and he was able to save her life before doctors got there and rushed her to the hospital. I don't know if I don't remember exactly how I read it. I don't know.
Well, from what I saw, it kind of sounded like there were already doctors on the plane, because you typically and I don't know if this is what they do, but they tried to put medical professionals on a plane maybe every flight, because in case there is an emergency.
I'm glad.
Just I think there might even be an air marshal on every flight, because you got to have safety for the passengers. But I'm sure that blood sugar was not the thing that came to their minds. Especially, I don't think she was coherent, so she couldn't exactly help them and tell them what was wrong, and if she was diabetic or whatever. But regardless, he probably saved her life, and he's a guy that I don't know if he never even said anything about it. I think it came out in a report that somebody recognized him, and I think they leaked the story
to kind of guy.
Bleacher Report or ESPN, and that came out, and it was well, shoot, typically you would expect somebody to say, oh, by the way, I saved somebody's life, over the weekend. But it makes it even better that I think he didn't say anything like that. But yes, that was the best thing I saw this week, and of course the Tigers' success is pretty good too. But well, anyway, it's Super Bowl. It will be Super Bowl Sunday this weekend. I'm rooting for the 49ers. And I know we talked about this last weekend, but picks. I know you said Chiefs. You said
I think the Niners.
the Niners.
probably-
Okay.
It's going to be close.
It'll be close. It will definitely be close.
Well, now I'm definitely taking the Chiefs because I don't know if y'all saw the Grammys, but Taylor Swift won her 4th album of the year, which is a Grammys record, and
I did see
announced
that.
a new album dropping soon.
Oh my
Yep.
goodness.
April-
I am no Swiftie, but the power of the Swifties will be there on Sunday.
April 19th.
And
Put it on your calendar.
that's right. And I believe that the Chiefs take it home.
Wow. Well, I didn't know she was releasing another one
Yeah.
because the last. I'm not even gonna try to think.
She's gotta have a new
Something
tour.
Heartbreak Poet Department or something. I don't know,
Department of
something-
Poets.
Yeah.
Heart. It's basically. I think it's based off of Dead Poets Society.
tell
is
we're
the
not
ti-
Right.
Swifties.
It's going to be big time. Yeah. We're
yeah,
excited.
I'm. Yeah. Oh yeah, we are. Oh,
I'm stoked.
can't wait. Yeah. But yeah. So. Just in that case, let's go 49ers. But thank you for tuning in to episode number 17, the Roar Rundown Sports Podcast. And make sure to tune in next week for episode number 18. Hopefully by the time you're seeing this, it's released on time and technology has not kicked me in the butt again. So we'll see. But thank you for tuning in. Have a blessed evening and go Tigers.